and
The
hours
time,
upon
yeah.
hours upon hours. And I made money. And when I made money, I was like, I freaked out. I was like, if I can make this much money, I've got to go and take this to the next level. So I actually, I'm a little reckless. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not buy a $2,000 program. I bought a $30,000 mastermind.
You went straight up to that.
I
right?
did.
Yeah.
Because I do that in crypto too. I'm like, if I invest in crypto, I'm like, well, I could buy 1,000. No, I'll buy.
Just put a bunch in
that
there.
just okay. And so, but here's the thing. I was about to throw up when I did it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that was like, I literally invested everything I had made from digital products back into getting to this room.
You go hard.
No, dude, I'm a double down guy. That's why I should never gamble. Like actually go to a casino. I should never do it. But it worked out because when I got in that room, what I learned from those guys in that room, it helped. And then I did it again with Sam and like I've just done it over and over and over. I don't know how much you've spent, but I've spent $500,000 on coaching, consulting, seminars, and this is a stupid number, but twice in my life, I've spent $50,000 on a one-on-one call with like high level mentors. Now, you might say, well, Dan, you're crazy. Why would you spend $500,000 on coaches? Okay, great. That's what my father would say. Okay. In fact, he did say that. But if you then take the nearly 40 million I've made, if you could buy a house for $500,000 and then you could sell that house for 40 million, would you do it?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, of course you would.
Yeah.
But the thing is I can only sell that house once. With the knowledge and the skill set, you can keep making money forever. So I'm a huge believer in investing in yourself.
Me too. I'm not quite as insane as you are about it, but
you don't have to do that.
I don't recommend any of you model.
No, I'm insane. I'm crazy, but I like to double down, and that's just how I am. I think there's people who are conservative about it. There's people who are crazy about it. But whether it's $2,000 or $200,000, the point is you're investing in yourself and acquiring what you need to acquire to make the life you need to make.
And it's relative too, because for me, the first time that I bought what I would call big ticket was a $2,000 product. I had a credit card that had a $500 limit on it because, the bank was like, whoa there, buddy. Like $500 is about all you're good for.
I bought
right?
those.
Yeah. So I really wanted this program. This was back in 2006. And by the way, everything sold for $2,000 on the internet in 2006. Like the shittiest products you could ever imagine, people sold them for $2,000 in 2006. Don't ask me why. I mean, supply and demand. There was very few products you could invest in. And so when there's few for supply and there's a lot of demand, you can skew price point independent of whether the thing is good or isn't good. But there was a product that I saw that I really wanted. It was $2,000. I only had a $500 credit card, and that's the only way that they allowed me to purchase the product online is with a credit card, right? So here's what I did. I called up my boss, who I was painting houses for. He was a relatively successful person. He was a good mentor and coach, by the way. So this guy helped me out a lot and really shaped my life in a very profound way. Also, the biggest asshole you could ever imagine on the planet.
I feel like I might know who this is.
You wouldn't, because he was a guy in Iowa painting houses. But
okay.
So it was a very interesting relationship we had. But I called him up and I said, I really want to buy this program. Would you charge it to your credit card, and then I will pay you back? I will write you a check, and I will pay you for it. And $2,000 was a lot for me. As a percentage of the total amount of money I had on hand, it was an extremely large amount of that as a percentage, right? Now, the one thing I had going for me, Dan, and I'm very different in this way than a lot of people, is I always kept my cost of living down significantly, right? So I can very clearly visualize when this occurred. So I called him up. I said, if you charge it on your credit card, then I'll write you a check for it. He goes, I'll stop by because I'm close by. And then I'll put the credit card in for you and I'll order it and then you write me the check. So I said, great. So he pulls up. Now here's where I live, just to set the scene. Okay. I joined Toastmasters. You know what Toastmasters is? Okay.
Yeah.
So Toastmasters, I joined it because I started reading these books. And these books is if you want to network and you want to learn how to make money and all this stuff, you go to Toastmasters. So I did. That never happened, by the way. I didn't make a damn dime in Toastmasters. But while I was there, a lady says, we have this shed on the back of our property that we converted into a little apartment. I don't think it was legal, by the way, but she was like, I will rent it to you for $400 a month, right? So that was the best thing that came out of Toastmasters. So I'm living in this shed. It's like a box, and there's a thing down the middle of the shed where the kitchen is and then the living room is, and that's it. So my living room was my bedroom, was my office. This is where I started my first business. And this living room area couldn't fit both a bed and a desk in it. So I had to choose. Do I want to sleep on a bed and not have a desk to work on? Or do I want to work at a desk and sleep on the floor? I chose the desk and I slept on the floor, right? So I'm living in this cheap little apartment, driving this really, it's a Toyota Celica, 1989 Toyota Celica, and we're talking 2006, right? So it has some miles on it. And I have no cost of living. I don't have a girlfriend at the time because I wanted to focus on building the skills that would allow me to be able to be successful in my life. And so he came over, put the credit card in, bought the product for $2,000. I wrote him the check for $2,000, and I was in business. This is the first big ticket purchase that I ever made as a percent relative to the money I have. So there's a lot of you here today who are in a similar situation. The finances that you have on hand are very small. So even though this is an incredible deal at $19.95, and with financing, there may be some alternative options for you, as a percentage of the disposable income you have on hand to make the investment, it could be a lot, right?
That's true.
It could be a lot. It probably is a lot. I've seen some of your comments, and I promise you, I'm going to get to the questions here very, very shortly because I want to answer some of these questions because I think it will help you make a decision that will be the best decision for you. Whether it's a no decision or a yes decision, the decision needs to be made, and I want to help you make it, okay? So it is not lost upon me that this may require a significant investment from you, even though this is the absolute best deal in terms of value that you'll ever find. So I want to acknowledge that, and I want to really honor that, the intensity surrounding this decision, because I know for most of you, you want to make it, but it feels difficult because of the financial situation that you're in. You're sold on the value of this. You see what the opportunity here is, but the big question is, does it make sense for me to make this kind of investment, okay? I can't make that decision for you. Now, there are some of you, and this is so funny, like this is how I know that, Dan, this is how I know we have a winning offer, and I'm sure you've seen this before yourself too, right? My wife has been sending me message from my Instagram, which I never check because I'm fucking terrible at social media, right? And she's sending me messages. So people are looking me up and telling me, hey, ask Iman if he'll do X, Y, and Z, or they're telling me and they're sending me messages. They're like, well, I'm from this country and I'm facing this situation. Right. Can you help me out? And it breaks the heart a little bit when you read this, and you can really feel for people. But this also shows me that we've hit the spot. Like we have that unstoppable, undeniable offering, and this is before the consulting accelerator bonus was even revealed or dropped, right? So I know most of you want it. There's some of you where financially I will tell you no, flat out, right? If it's between this and eating a meal and you're not sure when your next meal is going to come in, don't buy this. That is reckless and that's insane, right? If this puts you in a situation where harm can come upon you in the near future, I 100% will tell you unequivocally, do not sign up at joiniman.com. Do not invest in this opportunity here. This is why we do the free training. This is for you if that is your only option. However, a lot of you are somewhere in the middle, okay? A lot of you are like, even it'll be a difficult but not impossible investment for you to make. And for you, I would just take a second to sit with that, think about it, be aware of it. Don't just check in with the brain. Also check in with the heart. Don't let the brain make all the decisions. Don't let the heart make all the decisions, right? Holistically make the decision with the brain and the heart. And then if it feels right, it's right. And then everything else is kind of secondary to that, isn't it? Like, if it's the right thing to do, we do it whether the condition is ideal or if it's not ideal, right? Right. You know, I don't say to my wife and I, we do these date nights at least once a week, right? That's the only social media game I have on point, right? Is I put pictures of her and our date nights and, marketing, what the fuck? I don't say anything about that, right? But maybe a little bit about that. But, we have our date nights. I don't say, well, it's raining, so let's not go out tonight, right? Or I don't say, I'm really tired and I worked hard all day, so let's skip it, right? We do it because it's worth doing. And sometimes it's not under ideal conditions. And other times it is. But we do it, and then once we do it, once we have this, once you do the needful, once you do the right thing and you condition it, that's where excellence comes from. Pros do it with a headache. This is the saying that we say in the business all the time, right? Pros do it with a headache. We do it whether it's easy or whether it's hard. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing. And every moment you resist that, it costs you twice. Because you go through emotional agony sitting in that maybe. And that's not a good place to be in. And then it costs you again because every second you delay the decision that needs to be made is a second later you begin. It's a second later you can step into it. And so I just want to make you aware of that, and maybe that can help you make the decision if the decision is a yes decision to make it. Now, if not, I'll ask you again in 5 minutes, right? I'll keep asking you just to check it and make sure. I would rather accidentally over ask you to the point of annoyance and get a no than not ask you enough and miss you when I could have helped you. Does that resonate? If so, join Iman.com. Let's get you going. I got a bunch of questions. I got one for you before I get into these, though. You were telling me something when we talked the other day. You say, hey, I like to help people understand a situation, and there's two different things, right? There's the skills, and then there's the attributes or the character. Am I getting this right?
Yeah.
Can you tell?
This is probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned to being successful, really not just at this business, but in life, okay? And this is something I love telling people because it's a major game changer. I do want to mention, I'm going to map this out for you on this because I really have to use a pen for this. But I do want to mention about this bonus. And by the way, I love the fact that you said if it's going to like take food off your table where you can't eat, it's no.
Yep.
And I ate ramen noodles for 6 months because that's all I could afford. That's why the only thing I could buy was books. Like that was it. Okay. But this bonus right here, I have this bonus. What I purchased here years ago was not the most expensive thing that I've ever, and like I said, I've invested a lot over 13 years in myself. This particular program was one of the cheaper things. Yeah. I invested more with consulting.com like later on, but this program was like one of the cheapest.
It was the entry point.
It was one of the entry points. Yeah. And I got in masterminds, I got in all that. And here's the funny thing. That stupid amount of money I spent on that mastermind, I learned more from this.
Wow.
I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot. I'm not going to lie.
You got your money's worth.
I did. But this one was the most practical. That was more like connections, thinking higher level. This was the practical knowledge that really made me the most money. So return on investment, this. I just wanted to note that. Okay.
Thank you.
So here's what it is, right? If you were to, how many of you guys here have like a boss? Like you have an employer. Does anybody here have an employer, right? So this can be used for employees or employers. You've hired people before, right?
Many times.
Many times, right?
Yeah.
So think about this. What would be a good characteristic you would look for in a good employee?
Yeah. For me, showing up on time is like the most important characteristic.
So punctuality.
Yeah, punctuality.
Right? Okay. Punctuality. And by the way, guys, you can say in the chat some other characteristics that you think would be like one of mine is honesty. My core value is honesty.
Yep.
Right. I'm gonna write that down.
Write down honesty.
Honesty. Right.
Yep.
I love that. Right. So what's another character?
Proactivity is one of my favorites. Proactive.
Okay.
So they don't say I don't know if I can do this or not. They say okay, I'm gonna find a way to do this. That's one of my favorite traits.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. So I know there's a little bit of delay here. I'm gonna.
I saw flexibility.
Loyalty. Okay. Loyalty. Yep. Okay. Loyalty.
Authenticity. Yeah. Creative.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Okay. Creative.
And I'll give the code away too here in a little bit for the workbook. I'm going to make a note
Integrity.
of that.
Oh, that's my second favorite. Integrity. Okay. Humility. Okay. Work ethic. Okay. Commitment. So there's a lot here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Trustworthy. Okay. So now let me ask, that's enough, right? Let me ask you a question. If you were looking for an employee and that employee came to you and they were punctual, they were honest, and I'll show you this list here. They were punctual, they were honest, they were proactive, they were loyal, flexible, they were creative, they had integrity, they had humility, good work ethic, trust. I have terrible handwriting, so I don't know what I wrote down there. They were.
It looks like.
They would honor their commitments.
Okay, got
it. Yeah. Okay. Would this make a great employee?
Hell yeah, it would.
It would be probably top echelon employee, right?
Yep.
Guys in the chat, flip it around. If your boss was punctual, honest, proactive, loyal, flexible, creative, had integrity, humility, good work ethic, they committed, they were trustworthy, would that make a great boss? Would it make a great boss? Okay, of course it would. Would it make a great father? If your father was punctual, honest, proactive, loyal, creative, integrity, humility, good work ethic, commitment, trust, would he not be a great father? What about a mother? What about a CEO of a company? What about a president of a country? When's the last time you saw a president? Okay.
Good one.
So if the answer is no matter what job, no matter what position I tell you would have these qualities, they would be the top 1% of that, then what it sounds like you're telling me, because I only put one down here, you guys chose the rest. I didn't write these. You guys gave these to me. What you're saying is that if you have these qualities, you would succeed at anything in life. That's what I'm hearing. Now, here's the thing, and this is where it gets interesting. Of these qualities, some of these are attitudes and some of these are skills. So let's go through them. Punctual. Is that if you're an on-time person, is that an attitude or a skill?
I would say more attitude, because you're I'm going to show up on time.
Right.
And you don't have to be particularly high IQ'd to
be
show
on
up
time.
on time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So attitude, right?
Yep.
Okay. Honesty, is that attitude or a skill?
That's an attitude.
Yeah, that's an attitude, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Proactive, is that an attitude or a skill?
It could be both.
It could be both.
Because you have to sometimes, if you teach somebody how to be proactive, then they can learn how to be proactive.
So we'll put both for that one.
Yeah.
Loyalty, is that an attitude?
That's 100%
100% attitude.
Yep.
Being a flexible person, is that an attitude?
Attitude. Yep.
Okay. Being creative, is that an attitude or a skill? I would say skill.
Yeah.
I would say skill.
Definitely.
Okay, skill. Integrity, is that an attitude or a skill?
Attitude.
Attitude, okay. Humility, is that an attitude?
100% attitude.
Attitude. Work ethic, attitude or skill?
Attitude, because you'll get, if you are determined just to go at it, then that's totally an attitude. Yep.
Committed, attitude or
attitude.
skill? Attitude. And trust.
Of course, is an attitude. Yep.
I did see one person say positive attitude. I'm going to write that down. So positive attitude, is that an attitude or a skill? Okay.
It has the name, the answer.
It's an attitude. Okay. Now, I want you to notice something. So you all told me what to put on the board. You all confirmed that no matter what job, father, son, cousin, brother, CEO, employer, employee, if you had these qualities, you'd be successful. You'd be top 1%. And we just went through them. And if you notice, almost all of them are attitudes. There's one skill here, which is creative, and then proactive could be interpreted as a skill, but the rest are all attitudes. And so what this proves is that in order to be successful at anything in life, 95% of what you need is in the right attitude. Only 5%, 5 to 10% skill. If you have the right attitude, you need just a little bit of skill and you can crush it.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. When I got started, when you got started, you probably needed 10 to 15% skill.
I had the skill already.
Yeah.
That's the thing, Dan. I had a lot of skill, but my attitude wasn't right yet.
Right.
So it didn't matter if I had the skill.
Today, I'm going to be honest with you because I'm an honest person. I'm a straight shooter. You need less skill because AI is most of the skill.
True.
But here's the thing. That doesn't matter because you can get in the program. You can go to joiniman.com. You can sign up right now. You can invest. You can get monetized. You can get all the tools. You can get the coaching. You can get the mentorship. All that. Right? And it's going to make it easier. Like, it's going to make it easier than it was on us. It's going to take care of most of the skill for you because of AI. But here's the thing. What you have to ask yourself is, if you want something in life and you just commit to having the right attitude and coming in with the right attitude, if you came into this thinking, oh my gosh, I need all this skill to succeed, I didn't write this down. You guys put this on the board. You just proved to me and yourself and Jason here that you need very little skill. You just need the right attitude. So here's what I can tell you. I have worked with Iman before, and I remember you said real recognizes real. What made me love Iman was when I first did a project with him, I had to listen to 45 minutes of him complaining about how other people in the industry, you went through it too, right?
I've heard it, yeah. I like
are ripping people off, teaching things wrong, doing things like the funny thing is the guy did not have to say that. We're sitting there, we could have just got right to work. We could have just worked on the project. He did not need to go through 45 minutes of passionately talking about how much he wants to correct the bad information in the industry because there's too many bad products. And when I heard that, I was like, I will work with this guy anytime. Yeah. Because that anger, that passion to do things right and to put good things out there, that's somebody that creates great products. And that's what I've seen, and you've seen so many people, right? And here's the thing. He's going to bring the skill to you. He's going to bring the tools that remove most of the need like we had for this skill. He's going to bring you the mentorship. He's going to bring you the training. That's all of this. You come in, I can tell you this, you come in with the right attitude, you can change your life. Yep. Whether that means a few extra $1,000 a month because that's all you want, or whether it means you want to go big like me, like I'm a go big or go home guy. Either way, a few months from now, you could have a completely different life than you do now. It only takes a little bit of skill, but it's mostly attitude. If you can come with the right attitude, you can be successful. That's what I'll tell you.
Dan, it's been an honor, man.
Thanks,
I'm going to get to these questions. I appreciate
Absolutely.
you for being here.
Yes. Yes. You are the man. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out with me, and I loved hanging out with you. I'm going to head home, bro. Thank you so much.
Awesome, man.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's give him some love in the chat. And then I got a question I want to put in the chat here. And also, I got the workbook code that I'm going to give you right after that. So I'm going to ask you a question. And it's this, okay? I'm committed to stay on with you until you, if you're in the process or if you want to sign up, because when I sign off, then the bonus consulting accelerator goes away. So do you think, and it doesn't have to be a hard yes, do you think that there's a possibility that you may sign up before we end the stream today? If that is the case, I want you to put in yes into the chat. If there's any possibility whatsoever that you may say yes before the end of the presentation today, put a yes into the chat. Because I'm going to stay on here a little bit longer then, and I'm going to answer, obviously, more questions. What's up? Hell yeah. And if you say no, that's fine too. Okay, good. So I'm going to stay on, and I'll check in with you to make sure when you're checking out that we give you the space to do that as well. So good. We got a lot of yeses. It's okay if it's a no. You don't hurt my feelings. I appreciate the straightforwardness. Do you want the password to the workbook? I know that's a hard yes, right? It's 100% yes. The password is PAGE, P-A-G-E, all caps, PAGE, P-A-G-E, all caps. That gets you the workbook, so you can hit that code. And if that's all you need, go ahead and bounce out. It was a pleasure to see you here today. I am going to stay on. I am going to answer these questions. For those of you who said yes, that soft yes, we're going to dig into that a little bit more. However, and this was unexpected, and I'm pleasantly surprised. Iman, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Not much. Just thought I'd pop in. Yeah, I mean, I guess you've already said, but big shout out to Dan. You guys seem to absolutely love him. And yeah, he's a character, that's for sure.
He gets you fired up. I like that. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the first time I met Dan. Obviously, like Dan and I have known each other known of each other for a long time. But the first time sat down with Dan, he's so passionate about what he does. And I was just basically sat there for 2 hours as he went on this very long monologue, but like that was enthralled by, like when some people are selfishly going on a monologue, but
he cares a lot, right?
Yeah, he cares. And like he has a love for the craft of communication and yeah, all that to say, the other thing is I just want to, one of the reasons I absolutely love working with Jason as well is there's always that like moment where I see, because obviously I'm speaking with the tech team, the rest of my team, and we're also in the background, I'm listening to the stream, and I'm hearing you talk about, and if you're on your absolute last dollar and you're going to put yourself in a bad position, and I'm like, oh my God, like, because I still have trauma, because I see all, like
everybody else does.
I just see so much like bullshit online out there. People be like, well, just like, it doesn't matter if you go homeless, just like purchase. And like, of course you, out of like such fucking integrity, and as I said, this is like why I absolutely love working with you. Like out of integrity, you're a husband, you're a father, and you just give honest, sincere advice, and I fucking like adore you for that, and I adore you that like you tell people what to do and what's actually right. And yeah, I just want to say like you guys are very, very fortunate, because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people that abuse their position of power and abuse their influence to make people or manipulate or this, that. Like you are sincere, and you are, you like, everyone on here, Jason has your best interest and your best interest in mind, and he has like proven that again and again and again and again. And can you guys just give like a massive shout out to Jason in the comments for that? Because like I can tell you right now, like this is what, like you are what this entire industry needs more of, which is just like a person with a good heart, pure intentions, and you will only ever say what you truthfully believe. And I just like, I just think that's so important. So
thank you.
Shout out to you. I'm going to get back to the team and I will leave you guys. And once again, like I'm so careful about my brand, and I'm so careful about associations and this, that. Like you remember when we did the MMOC 1.0, like I was like, I did not leave as much as this because I was so on edge. I was like, I can't let someone else like represent me like this. So like, yeah, you guys are in great hands, but you guys already know that.
Iman, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Oh yeah. That feels good. All right, let's get to work here. I got a bunch of questions. I promise you I'm going to answer them all. I appreciate you hanging in there with me on this. I know it gets crazy. Like we have to go down and we go in this adventure, we go on that adventure. So let's get into it. I answered some of these questions earlier. Here's one interesting. WAP is like the new ClickBank. No. So I have worked various areas of ClickBank and with ClickBank, and ClickBank was 100% revolutionary when we were coming up, because until then there was no really easy way to publish online. So they kind of brought forth the digital product revolution by a step. And so then I feel WAP is a leap to that initial step that was taking. And some of this is technological and it's shift, and some of it is the people that are now shopping and buying digital products online didn't exist at the time as a purchasing unit that ClickBank was not catering to, for example. And so, but hey, listen, if you want to publish on ClickBank or anywhere else, you certainly can as well. You will find it to be a very different experience than WAP. WAP is free. WAP is easy to use. It's easy to onboard. And the coaches inside of joiniman.com will walk you through all the steps on how to get the most out of that as well. Specialized AIs, Stefan was asking that. Yeah, it's Synthesize and it's Ghostwriter. If you go to joiniman.com, you can see this. It's a difficult thing for us to be able to show you the totality of value of those software. So if you've noticed, we've shown you very specific, very particular use cases of each of those software. We have scratched but the surface. There is so much more going on underneath of it. And when you get it in your hands, then you know it will make sense to you. It's so funny because people will say stuff about this software and never having used it. Isn't that really interesting? You have to question what their agenda is. If they're telling you not to use a software that they themselves have never touched, never experienced, never played with. So this is Synthesize, and this is Ghostwriter OS. These are licensed deals, by the way, because you can't make the best everything no matter how good you are. I can't create the best of every single software that exists out there on myself. So what you do is either you build it yourself or you license it from somebody. So Iman pays money to license the very best in the world and then remove restrictions that would otherwise apply that would have reoccurring fees attached to them and other stuff like that. Okay. I answered that question already when we were going earlier. Okay. Yep. Jason, can the Ghostwriter OS software take your text and make it better or only create it from scratch? Both. Okay. It has a lot of flexibility. Now, nothing does everything. So you can take some of the content, it won't turn it into a video for you, and it won't voice it over for you. I don't think, at least as of yet. It may soon, though, because it continues to get better, but I can't promise anything. But what's cool is once you get the best part of it, what we call the kernel of the idea, like the most important thing, I call it the structure. Once you have the structure in place, if you want to shoosh it up a little bit and optimize it further, then general AI can really do the job. General AI can add a little bit extra to it to get it over the finish line, but it can't do everything. That it can't even do anything close to what Ghostwriter OS can do. You have to remember, Ghostwriter OS is trained on the same content strategies that Iman has used to generate 5.5 plus million subscribers on YouTube. I think it's more than that now. I think it's 5.7. I mean, you can see it on the YouTube Live. Just look down underneath me. Look at that number. It's a big number. The content strategies that were developed to make that number a reality are baked into and trained and built upon and structured as agents inside of Ghostwriter OS. That's what makes it so incredible. And agents, instead of you having to fight with AI and do all sorts of stuff to get it to have an output, an agent has been pre-programmed with several different things that otherwise would have to be done manually with AI that occur automatically with AI. So they are like AI that's been trained and conditioned and prompted on your behalf for you, and then connected with different technologies to run a chain and a series of events, one after the next, without you ever having to prompt it. Isn't that awesome? And so that's what Ghostwriter OS does. It has 35 different such agents to help you create the type of material that will get more people to buy your digital product, and also create the material that will attract the most amount of people to buy your digital product. Somebody asked, what is Iman's why? I will speak on it. This is one of the whys, and whys change over time. As you accomplish one why, typically it opens up the door to another why. But why, one of the whys that Iman had was that he was able to take his mom, who was working at a department store, a very fancy department store that you had to be of a certain status to allow to even be entered into it, and she worked there to provide for him as a single mother, and he was able to be so successful that when she went to that department store later as a customer who was allowed in that velvety rope that only certain elites that they would normally allow in there, they tried to tell her to leave. But she had gotten her place in there, and that's what he did for her. And that's just representative of what most of our whys are, isn't it? We want to, isn't this funny? We want to provide for others. That tends to be the theme amongst all the whys. We want to do something so we can take care of people that are beyond ourselves. And those are the most noblest of whys. If it's just, I want a lot of money, I don't think this program's going to cut it for you, because I don't think any program's going to cut it for you. That's not a good enough why. If it's something that will uplift more than yourself in the process, then you become more of yourself in the process. And then you are capable of more in the process. And so this is a very powerful why. There's a dark side to the why too. And I'll tell you a little story on this really quickly. Earlier, like growing up, I had the best and the worst. Like, the book, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, right? Like The Tale of Two Cities. That was kind of like my childhood. When my parents were present and were there for me, they were the most loving that you could ever imagine. But when they weren't there for me, it was very dangerous and very scary and very harmful to me. And it was scarier still because it was unpredictable, which I would rather have it just been like nothing, because I could count on that. but the uncertainty was the worst part of it. So I was 10 years old one day, and I was climbing a tree, and I remember it very vividly because it was a Sunday. And my dad had this wrestler come over because my dad was the wrestling coach at the high school. So him and this wrestler are getting ready to wrestle. I'm climbing this tree. I get to the top of the branch. It's only like 10 feet high. I'm sitting on this branch, enjoying the view. Branch breaks. I fall. I reach out. I grab for the branch. It rips through my hand. I land on my butt on the ground. I look down and I feel fine. I don't feel hurt. And then I look at the hole in my hand, and blood is spurting out every time my heart beats. And the craziest thing is I'm not crying. By the way, I don't know if you can see it there. Probably not on this camera, but there's still the scar on my hand that is right there from the stitches that I got because I had this blood shooting out of my hand. And I go to my dad, and I'm not crying. And I say to him, I said, Dad, I need help. There's this blood shooting all over the place. I fell out of a tree. And my dad looks at me, and this is what he says. He says, you can't get hurt on a Sunday because we can't afford to take you to the hospital. And he yelled it to me. He screamed it at me. And that's when I cried. Not because of the physical pain. And I remember that day. That was the day I decided that I said, if I ever have a child, I will never be in a position, ever in my entire life, where I would even think for a half a second about money in a situation like that. And then later on, that happened to one of my children. You know, I grew up and I had kids, and I had to be there for them in that way. And I had the opportunity to change the history with the next generation. And that was part of the why too. So some of the why is beautiful, and some of the why lifts you up, and some of the why is positive, but some of the why can come from pain and can come from agony and tragedy. And we should use both. So we get more of what is good, and we remove what otherwise would be bad. So the why is everything. And I know it's a standard cliche, right? Like if you go to 100 seminars of 100 people selling you 100 different things, they're going to go through the process of discover your why. And sometimes they will do it tactically. So then they can use it against you later and then get you to buy, right? A lot of this funny business happens in this business. But it's also doesn't deny how important it is just because people misuse it. It's also a very important reason. And it doesn't have to be that big. Sometimes the why is because I want to. And that's equally valid. I know we're getting this reputation, and I've seen the questions, and I will get to some more questions here in a second, but allow me to sidebar here for a second. I work with some of the biggest brands in the world, and I work in a lot of female-driven, consumer-based markets. So a lot of the clients that I work with, a majority of our market is not men, it's women. And I know you're like, oh, you've seen all these men on this call today, and you've seen all these winners happen to be men. Generally, in a business demographic, it is predominantly men. Generally, on YouTube, it's predominantly men. If this was an Instagram training, it would be predominantly female. If it was a Pinterest training, it would be almost 100% female, right? By the way, women control 80% of all the purchases that occur on the internet. So if the economy was a gender, it would be female. So I see it and I understand, and I work heavily in all sorts of markets. And for the female market, we often find the biggest limitation that stops growth for women who want to grow in business, for example, is because it's hard for them to accept, I want to do this because. And no other rationalization or justification required. It's just, I want to do this because it calls to me. I want to do this because I can. And I don't need permission in order to do that. I don't need to be told it's okay in order for me to move forward and go at it. And so, because it calls to me, or because I want to, is as valid as a why as anyone does. And you don't have to justify it. By the way, you don't have to rationalize it, okay? Why did Da Vinci do what Da Vinci did? Why did Mozart do what he did, right? Because it called to him. And does there have to be any other reason? Now, if there is another reason, like an external circumstance that occurred or something that happened to you that is calling you to it specifically, then let's use that and let's acknowledge that. But if it doesn't exist, or if you're not sure why, that's okay too. It doesn't have to have a concrete answer. If it calls to you, that's all we need. And if it calls to you to go to joiniman.com and sign up, then baby, let's go, okay? Is Ghostwriter available? It shows on the wait list. Ghostwriter in and of itself as an investment is not available at this time. Let me tell you why, because Synthesize is not available at this time either. Those require in and of themselves the type of corporate training and structure and all those things if you're specifically only going to ship that to somebody. And those are a middle of funnel or bottom of funnel consumer, meaning people that are already established, already having existing businesses that they can plug it into. And so the goal with those programs, with that software that Iman is eventually going to do, is he's going to market to those segments. But that's later down on his list of things to do. So until he builds those things out to sell them individually, which is still on the roadmap, he can ship them collectively together as a package, which he's doing here today. Because that without coaching, that without the support system, that without the training that's involved, that without everything holistically that comes with joiniman.com, the chances of you getting it and fully leveraging it would be very slim. This is also why it's $3,000 on its own. Because to a corporate market, that price point makes sense to that type of business in that situation. Now, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't roll all these programs up together and present it in one neat package for you on joiniman.com. However, because this is a launch, because this is a one-time event, and because it's special, and because we have so much focus and so much attention all at once, then it makes sense for us to temporarily put things together and make it an incredible deal when otherwise it wouldn't make sense to. So that's why this occurs. We kind of take that for granted in the business because we know that, but you wouldn't have any frame of reference for that, and you wouldn't know why that makes sense. But that in and of itself, all of these pieces in and of themselves, if you were to buy them separately, is more than what you get them collectively together as a special deal, time limited, of course, when you go to joiniman.com. Which audience does WAP deliver to? Every audience. You can sell any sort of product on WAP that's digital. And I am finding more and more creators every single day are shifting to the WAP platform. It's really funny because I generally work with an older demographic of businesses. I'm young. I'm a young old, let's put it that way, right? So in the circles that I hang out with, I'm still kind of young. I'm still at the younger end of the numbers. But none of them have used WAP or heard of WAP initially because it was really launched. The guys that launched WAP are very young, mid-20s, right? One of the co-owners of WAP, I was just with him in San Diego. He came to an event that I was co-running, and I had my kids there. My kids came up to him, and I said, how old do you think this guy is? And they guessed 23, 22, 24. I'm like, how did you know? He was 23 years old. Because my kids are between the ages of 15 and 12. All three of them are. And then I said, how much money do you think his company processes? And get this is what the kids say. They say the first kid says 100 million, the next kid says 150 million, and then the third kid says 125 million. And I was proud of them because at least my kids have been in an environment where hearing $100 million is normalized. Like, that doesn't seem weird to them because that's all they know because they've been in that environment. And anything can be normalized if you're around it enough. And then I said, no, not exactly. I said $1.6 billion. That's what his company has processed in 4 years. And so I was talking to them, and it's a younger audience that has adopted and is using WAP. But I'm telling everybody to use WAP. Now, by the way, the more of you who use WAP, the better WAP benefits all of you because it's the same effect that Amazon did. Amazon, if they knew they could get third-party sellers, which is a majority of people on Amazon, on the platform, then the customers would automatically come. And so on the physical product side, the most customers come to Amazon. So the same thing is being modeled on the digital side with WAP. If more people use WAP to buy products, then the more likely they are to return to WAP to buy other products. And you are a pioneer, because right now I know 1.6 billion sounds like a lot of money. It's in its infancy stages. It hasn't even hit puberty yet when it comes to the growth trajectory that it's on. So it's better to be first and grow with the platform than it is to get there later. And that's part of it. And you're going to get the best of the best related to that, because Iman is a co-owner. It's not just what you know, it's who you know. And that's important as well. So join Iman.com. Should I quit my job? I have a 3-month notice period, but I'm sure that the model will work for me. I would not suggest to anybody to quit your job solely and specifically to do this in its place, because whatever that job is, it is a paycheck that you can count on for the most part, right? Even if it's not a big paycheck, right? Now, there are reasons you may want to quit your job that have nothing to do with this. You could, in your mind, justify that as an excuse. Oh, yeah, that's why I did it, right? Like if you're in a situation that's not good for you, that's not healthy for you, that holds you down, that harms you, that puts you in a place that really suppresses who you are as an individual, then you should make a plan on how you're going to extract yourself from that situation at some point in time. But this is designed so you don't need to replace your job with it. This is designed to start on the side slowly and build up over time. And then if it makes sense, you can quit your job at that point in time. I know a lot of people in this business who make more on the side with their digital product business than they do at their job full-time, but they like their job full-time. They feel good about having both. So they do both, and that makes sense. Other people like me, I never worked for anybody longer than I had to. I made the worst employee because I was smarter than every employer that I ever had, but I was also very naive to the way the world worked. And so it was a very frustrating place for me to be in. And I always wanted to work for myself. That was just always what I wanted to do. I was not a very typical person. I had a problem with authority starting from a very early age. When I was 4 years old, in kindergarten, I had this kindergarten teacher named Mrs. Harold, and she was an old, curmudgeonly, angry woman. And I grew up in the 80s. The 80s were a different time. One day I bumped into this kid accidentally while we were waiting at the bus stop, and his hand got caught in the coat rack. And he started crying. And so Miss Harold came over to me. The woman had to be like 85 at the time. And she was so upset at me because she thought I physically, intentionally hurt this kid that she grabbed me by the throat and she began to choke me. And I was crushed. Like, it hurt. I had marks on my neck. And I go home and I show my mom. And my mom, God bless her, she goes to the counselor the next day and the principal. And she says, Mrs. Harold has hurt my son. She put hands on him. She choked him. We need to do something about it. And their response to her was, well, she's pretty old. She's going to retire soon. And that was the end of it. And that left a very bitter taste in my mouth. And then the next year, I got kicked out of the class, and they put me in the hallway, and they put my desk in the hallway as well. And after that, worse things happened to me in school. It was a very difficult time for me growing up. I just never fit into my environment. The only place I felt safe is if I was running the environment. Like, I couldn't sit in the desk chair, but I could teach the class. That's how I always felt. So I felt always very comfortable in a leadership role, but when you're a young kid, you don't get any opportunities for a leadership role. And so this was very difficult to me. So I figured if I couldn't have a world that I could fit into, I would design a world that would fit in to me as an individual. So that was innate in me. That's something that I always had. So if that's you, then yeah, you already march to the beat of a different drum. So then I don't have to tell you to join. You are counterculture just to the core, just like I was. So you could go to joiniman.com. You'll hear the story tomorrow. I was working on my presentation. I was a monk who was also a rapper. I was a Hare Krishna and I was a monk. That's how I got into this business, right? So you couldn't draw it up crazier if you were writing a work of fiction, and I'll show you pictures tomorrow, okay? So I lead a very different life than most people do. But hey, I have no problem with you keeping a job and doing this on the side, and then if it makes sense later on, when the money comes in, when there's some predictability in your digital product business, then you can decide if you want to just replace it. And maybe you do, maybe you don't. And hey, working for somebody else can be completely fulfilling. It's just, unfortunately, that is not usually the case. Okay? We will keep the offer open, by the way. JoinIman.com is still available, will be available tomorrow, will be available for the next few days. It's just that this bonus goes away. Yeah. So we will 100%. How do you access all these things? When you sign up at joiniman.com, you will go through a series. There's a couple optional upgrades. They're completely optional. You do not have to take them. If they make sense and you're in a good financial position, then you may want to add those to it. But when you're done, you'll get to a thank you page, and that will have instructions on how to access everything. Some of these things are immediately available to you, and you can use them right away. Other things are delivered later, like the coaching. The coaching is delivered over a period of time. The 90-day coaching with Iman, if you signed up yesterday, will start, and it'll have a set schedule. There's a 90-day contest as well, and that kicks in not immediately because that wouldn't make sense. That kicks in a little bit later. So some of these things you will get access to initially, and you'll get an account, and you'll be able to log in, and then everything will show up over there. That's a good question. Are all those men's washing asking for women? No, they're watches. Well, I can't speak for Iman. If you win and you're a woman, I guarantee you we can find a prize for you. Good question, though. I actually like that question a lot. I'll bring it to them. I'll get more clarity on that. You can use a debit card, I believe, if you check out direct. You can't finance a debit card, I think, but you can use maybe you could use a debit card if you check out directly. Try it, see what happens, and if not, hit up support, and support can help you with that as well. So if you go to joiniman.com, scroll to the bottom of that page, there's a send WhatsApp message. Send the WhatsApp message there. And there's a phone number there too that you can hit from a WhatsApp, and you can contact them through WhatsApp that way, or support at monetize.com. Yep. Not sure what that means. You can join tomorrow if you want to. Absolutely. Alexander says, if taking out a loan but I need time, how long do I have before I lose this opportunity? Please reply. You have... Let me see if it shows on the page yet, or if we put the countdown timer on the page where this offer expires. Okay, we haven't. I know you have a couple days. I can't guarantee beyond a couple days, but I know for the next few days at least there's access to this. I would caution against taking out a loan. If it makes sense in your unique specific scenario and you feel comfortable with it and you know it to be good, then go for it. But in general, for the rest of you, don't model that from Alexander. Like, ask me if you think it makes sense or not. Yeah, you can give me, okay, yep. Everything that comes with the package you will see on that page. Yep. Somebody asked, I thought it was for 888 people. That was yesterday's bonus. So we have today's bonus for everybody who signs up before the end. Yep. And it will show up if you invested yesterday, because that was a question. It will show up in your account. And not immediately. Give it a couple days. Yep. You have access to your login in perpetuity. You have access to these materials, some of them indefinitely. The software has a year license to it that you can use it for. You have to remember, like, if we could give it to you forever, we would. But Iman has licensed the software, and there's terms that are around that software, and there's a heavy cost for him in order to distribute that software to you for free. After a year, if you want to continue to use it, and I think you will, then you can renew your access at that point in time. Yep. Will Monetize ever come back in the future? I do not know. I will say unlikely as a launch like this, because we have had no further conversations on it internally. We have talked about other projects for next year, but that's something different, okay? Probably not even aimed at you as an audience, but I don't know. I can't predict the future on that one. That's a good question. Do small creators have value than the large creators due to loyal following? What is the ideal creator for me to see results? Okay, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but let me parse it a little bit. I will tell you things. If you want to partner with somebody in the digital product business who has an audience, it's better to start with a smaller audience for two reasons. One, you nailed it. Thomas asked this question. This is from earlier. So if you're not seeing it in the chat, I ain't making this shit up, okay? this is what I'm getting right now. My team has clipped these questions, but I'm getting through them, and then I'll continue to answer questions in the chat here. I'm pretty close on this one. You should start with a smaller, dedicated audience for 2 reasons. Number 1, they will be more hyper-responsive. That is a fact. And number 2, you ain't ready for the big time yet. You're a beginner. So cut your teeth on the small stages before you go to the large stage. Before you sell out Madison Square Garden, you got to play a couple dive bars first. At least that's been my experience. One of the funniest gigs I ever played when I was rapping is we played at a karaoke bar in Davenport, Iowa. And not just any old one. This is the kind of one when you pulled up, they had a vending machine out front of the bar, and there wasn't soda inside of the vending machine. Now, we called it pop in Iowa, but it's called soda everywhere else. You know what was in that vending machine? Live bait. So you could go fishing with it. That's the kind of gigs that I played. So I had to play the small time before I could play the big time. We got paid that night. We got paid pretty good, so it was worth the gig. So you want to start with small, and then you go to big, and that's true in any kind of business. You will go big faster if you start small sooner. If you start big too soon, you probably won't start it because it's so big it will fall on top of you and you can't get up. And secondly, even if you win, you'll probably be overwhelmed. So the easiest way to go big is to go small a few times and then watch momentum take care of the rest. Where can you host your page? Do you provide a solution? Yeah, WAP hosts your page for you. You can build your own if you want to. I've done it before. By the way, I learned how to build a website when I was 14 years old, 1997. I used a platform called AngelFire. And then later on, we migrated to GeoCities. I'm showing my age here, right? And I learned how to do HTML inside of that. MySpace is where I really stepped my HTML up game, because you could, do CSS and HTML on your MySpace page. And that's how we developed those skills. And then later on, I could use them in business. And it was difficult, and it was tough, and it was hard. And it was the only option we have. And now WAP can do it just like that. We showed a little bit of that. We showed the demonstration earlier. Watch the video again later on when it's posted on Iman's YouTube channel. And we'll show you the step-by-step process of that. Super easy. Super awesome. If your card is not supported in a certain location, then you can go to the WhatsApp message at joiniman.com, send them a message. There may be an alternative way, or maybe you can try something else. They'll be certainly happy to help you, because Mara says it's not supported in Romania. That makes me sad. My wife is from Romania. Her dad, who's living with us right now, he's come to visit us. Oh my God. He makes me the best breakfast that you could ever have, and the coffee in the morning. I love Romania. Is one of my favorite places in the entire world. The culture there is so amazing. I was thinking of that earlier, actually, when Dan Henry was talking about, and I was talking about being in the environment, because my wife always says to me, she's like, growing up in Romania, you were considered successful if you were either a lawyer or if you were an engineer. And she would, she's like, I was a woman, so I had to go be a lawyer, and then I could be a judge after that. So she went to law school in Romania, got her law degree there, and you did all that at the time for $3,000 a month. And nobody, she says, there's not a single person I talked to in Romania that ever thought about starting a business. And my wife started a business, and she became very successful. But she started her business after she moved out of the country, and then was in a different environment. So we'll see if we can help you. Dubai is interesting as well. From setting it up, certain things. Every time I buy something in Dubai, my card gets flagged. We have to explain to them. You have another challenge like this in a few months. Not for Monetize. Certainly not. Not on the docket yet. Where are Jason's sessions hosted? They will be on this YouTube channel tomorrow, on Iman's channel, 9 p.m. Dubai time. That is 1 p.m. Eastern. Tristan, am I right in that regard? Okay, cool. Time zones are above my pay grade. Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern time. That's New York time. Same time as always. Same time we start everyone. Okay. Yep. just join the YouTube Live. Trust me, we're marketers. We will let you know. We will send you messages. We will send you WhatsApp. I'll send a carrier pigeon over to you. He'll drop a message in your lap. Not that one, but we'll let you know for sure. Appreciate the desire to want to know more. I got a couple more questions that I want to check in here with everybody that's still with me live. We have 4,136 people. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Thoughts on reputation management business? I know a lot of people in that business. It's a service-based business traditionally. I am not a fan of service-based businesses because they generally revolve around you, and they make you just enough money so you don't want to leave them. So you can make good money, but it's hard to make great money in a service-based business unless you put a digital product around it. So if you put a digital product in front of it or next to it, then you will discover that it simultaneously makes it easier for you to sell digital products, and it increases the value of your service-based business. And for one very simple reason. I think it was Iman that asked me this earlier. He says, what do you charge for an hourly rate these days? And the answer is $3,500 an hour. And then I said, and I can't take clients on right now. I'm fully booked. The only reason I started charging $3,500 in the first place is not because I wasn't worth it, because I'm totally worth it. I'm kind of a big deal, right? But my own personal assessment of my value was less than that. And I kept raising my prices simply because my calendar kept filling up. So I would raise them again and raise them again and raise them again. And we're going to raise them again. I was literally telling my wife this the other day. I said, I think it's time to raise them to 5,000. She was like, I was going to tell you that, but I didn't want to tell you how to run your business. So that's the easiest way to raise your prices of your service business, is not to get better. It's to get more demand. And how do you get more demand? You put information in front of it. You put a digital product business in front of it, and you will already cycle through, and demand will rise to you, as will a higher clientele that's more qualified to pay you more money for your service-based business. But yeah, it's a good business. Reputation management for sure. You can't access it for some reason. You can use something else. But if you can use WAP, I would be my first choice. Yeah, and to sign up, you just go to joiniman.com. Yep.